Single mom with just 5 left discovers incredible CEO's heartwarming offer for all she needs. Sarah glanced at her wallet, the crumpled $5 bill a heavy weight in her palm. The reality crashed down on her. She was a single mom, juggling 2 kids and a world of responsibilities. The bills piled like a mountain, casting shadows over her tiny home. Laid off from the diner, she felt the walls closing in, each day a new battle she fought with silence and grit. She wiped the last of the crumbs from the kitchen table while her children, Lucy and Max, played in the living room, unaware of the turmoil brewing just outside their innocence. Each laugh echoed like a siren reminding her of their needs. The tension weighed on Sarah, a constant cloud looming over her. Estranged from her parents, they believed accepting help was a shameful surrender. The memories of their disappointed looks pierced deeper than any financial strain. She wanted to scream at the universe, yet she channeled it into moments spent at the soccer field, cheering on Lucy and Max, wrapped in the uniform of a devoted mother. Yet, behind that smile, her heart ached. One evening, while catching her breath after a long day of cleaning houses, she noticed a flyer pinned to the community board at the local coffee shop. "Join us for a night of empowerment for working parents," it exclaimed. Among the bold letters, her eyes caught the name Mark, a local CEO eager to help. A flicker of hope ignited inside her, battling against the shadows of despair. With hardly any hesitation, she decided to go. At the event, she'd never felt so out of place. The crowd was polished, everyone dressed in designer suits, sipping on expensive drinks. Sarah stood at the edge, clutching her purse like a lifeline. When the time came to share her story, she pushed aside the hesitation and stepped up, her heart pounding fiercely. She told them about the sleepless nights, the struggle to make rent, and the gnawing fear of not being enough for her children. Her voice trembled, revealing vulnerability, and she noticed the stares, pity and intrigue mingling in their eyes. Moved by her genuine story, Mark stepped forth, his presence commanding. "I once walked in your shoes," he admitted, shedding the professional facade. Memories flickered in his gaze, the sleepless nights, the feeling of helplessness. He offered to mentor her, to help her start her own cleaning business, a beacon amidst her stormy seas. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Sarah's pulse raced. This was life-changing, yet doubts clawed at her chest. Accept help from someone she barely knew? Or fight on her own, alone? Her heart ached with the weight of independence versus community support. Mark emphasized that everyone needs help sometimes, but Sarah felt adrift. As the night wore on, possibilities danced in her mind. Hope coiled around her heart like a warm coil, but fear curled just the same. Standing on the brink of a new beginning, she surveyed the crowd. Would she take this leap, or let her fears trap her in a cycle of doubt? Choices loomed large, emotions heavy in the air, and uncertainty buzzed like electricity. Sarah felt alive and terrified all at once, but one question cried for an answer. Would she dare to embrace this chance and transform her life, or would the chains of her past continue to bind her? The answer waited just beyond the horizon, glimmering in the dusk. The room felt like it was pulsing around her, a swirl of laughter and chatter, as Sarah grappled with her decision. Every face around her shimmered with the allure of possibility, yet she felt entirely alone. Mark's offer hung in the air like a lifeline, tantalizing and terrifying all at once. What would it mean to accept help? To build something new? She took a deep breath, casting a glance at her children, blissfully unaware of the storm raging within her. Lucy's laughter fused with Max's playful shouts, anchoring Sarah in that moment. For them, she whispered under her breath. They were her reason. Yet the thought of stepping into a world she felt ill-prepared for gnawed at her. As the event came to a close, Mark approached her again, concern etched on his face. "Sarah, I can see the weight you're carrying. You know there's no shame in seeking support." His voice was tender, yet firm. She caught a glimpse of the compassion that lay behind his polished exterior. "Can I really do this?" she asked, her voice just above a whisper. Tears brimmed her eyes. She felt the floor shift beneath her, the magnitude of her fears palpable. Mark took a small step closer, lowering his voice. "You can. I wouldn't offer if I didn't believe in you. You have fire in you. We all struggle. It's what we do with that struggle that defines us." His words ignited something fierce within her. A possibility. A flicker of confidence she hadn't felt in years. But then came the cold grip of doubt. But what if I fail? Failure is just part of the path. You won't be alone. I'll be here to guide you. His sincerity wrapped around her like a warm quilt on a cold night. It felt foreign but comforting. The journey back home was a blur. Tension coiled tightly around her, weaving between her ribs and settling deep in her gut. She replayed each word Mark said, each expression of encouragement. As she opened her front door, she was engulfed by the familiar setting of her small home. The soothing aroma of leftover spaghetti greeted her like an old friend. Lucy and Max sped past her, their faces alive with energy. "Mom! Mom! Look what we made!" they exclaimed, showing her a pile of colorful drawings now decorating their living room. It was a reminder of her purpose. "How about we get some snacks and brainstorm a new plan for our family, huh?" she suggested with a forced smile, hoping it would somehow ease her own anxiety. As they gathered around the tiny kitchen table, she felt a rush of determination. It was time for a change, for a leap into the unknown. A cleansing breath later, Sarah envisioned her cleaning business and the smiles it could bring not just to her, but to her children. Maybe this was the start. Maybe she could take Mark's hand and create something from nothing. But the nagging fear lingered, and one stubborn question bubbled to the surface. Would she have the courage to stand firm when the tide turned against her? Just then, Max looked up from his drawing, wide-eyed and innocent. "Mom, are we going to be rich?" The sweetest innocence melded with the weight of her fears. "We're going to be something, buddy. Something real." Yet, as she pondered the truth of those words, uncertainty flickered like a candle in the wind. Would she seize this chance, or would she let fear snuff it out before it even began to glow? And would the children understand if she stumbled along the way? As that question echoed in her mind, she held her breath, wondering if pursuing this path would lead her to the light or deeper into the shadows. The night lay thick around them, only the faint sound of their laughter broke through. Could she really make a breakthrough? Only time would reveal the answer. The kitchen buzzed with the excitement of her children as they munched on snack foods, chatting animatedly. Sarah sat at the small table, her mind racing far ahead of them. Plan after plan flashed through her thoughts, each more ambitious than the last. She wanted to give Lucy and Max a life filled with opportunities, but the path ahead felt uncertain and endless. "Hey, Mom!" Lucy called out, breaking her trance. "Can we turn our drawings into a story? Like a book?" Sarah's heart fluttered at the idea. "That's a great idea, Lucy. What would you want the story to be about?" Lucy's eyes sparkled, and she leaned in closer, animated with enthusiasm. "A princess who cleans the kingdom, and everyone loves her for it. And she makes it sparkle, like a rainbow." Max chimed in, "Yeah, and the princess can have a magic broom that helps her." Their laughter filled the room, a bright contrast to the storm brewing in Sarah's mind. The children's pure joy sparked something deep inside her. A flicker of inspiration. Perhaps there was more to Mark's offer than just a business venture. Maybe she could craft their own story, one where they could all thrive together. As she leaned back in her chair, her mind shifted gears. What if she transformed their household into a creative hub? If she could find a way to combine her work with something that ignited her children's imaginations, maybe she wouldn't feel so lost. "Let us make a real book," Sarah declared, surprising herself with her own excitement. "We'll write down your stories and add pictures. And I bet we can even read it at the school's family night. That would be so cool." Max squealed, his cheeks flushing with enthusiasm, for a moment, the weight of the world lifted just enough, allowing the freedom of imagination to fill its void. As the kids dove back into their drawings, she felt a gentle nudge, a kind of reassurance sparked by the tiniest leap. But then, the crippling reality came rushing back. Mark's promise felt so distant, a looming shadow hovering at the edge of her consciousness. The financial burdens were still there, the doubts nagged at her relentlessly. What did she know about running a business? The thought of putting herself out there while still managing the chaos of motherhood felt almost impossible. Doubt clawed at her heart again, much like it had earlier. Was she really cut out for this? Major decisions were frightening enough, but now plus the fear of financial failure. As they gathered their illustrations, she noticed sudden stillness in the room. Their drawings, now scattered across the table, were filled with proud claims of adventure, magic, and excitement. Each scene told a story. Each image held a piece of their hopes and dreams. Sarah bit her lip, transfixed. Perhaps navigating this journey didn't require knowing everything up front. Maybe all she needed was to take a page from Lucy and Max. These little moments could pave the way forward if only she had the courage to let go of perfection and embrace the messy, beautiful process of creation. But her thoughts quickly turned, a nagging question pushing its way to the forefront. What if she poured her heart into a plan, only to face setbacks? What if they achieved their dreams only to stumble at the end? Just when she thought those fears might swallow her whole, Lucy interrupted again. Mom, let us call our book The Clean Dream, okay? We can do it together. Now Sarah felt warmth filling her chest. Her child's encouragement felt like a boost of fresh air. Sure thing, Lucy, she said, forcing herself to smile. Let us write this story, every bit as colorful and vibrant as you two. As they delved into the world of words and illustrations, a thought lingered in the back of her mind, heavy as a rock. What if the heart of the story didn't just lie in the characters on the pages, but in Sarah herself? What awaited her beyond the realm of imagination? But before she could explore that feeling, the doorbell rang, echoing in the quiet house. Each heartbeat pulsed in her ears. What if everything changed with this visitor? The doorbell rang again, this time sharper, more insistent. Sarah's heart raced, her thoughts tumbling over one another like leaves in a gust of wind. The children, still immersed in their drawings, barely acknowledged the sound. With a shaky breath, she pushed herself up from the table, reminding herself to breathe. Standing in front of the mirror, she quickly brushed her hair back, straightened her shirt, and took one last glance at the kids. They were lost in their world of colors and stories, and for a moment, the strain of adulthood melted away. But it was fleeting. She took one step toward the front door, hesitating for just a moment. Who is it? She called out, trying to sound casual. Delivery. A firm voice replied. The straightforwardness was both relieving and daunting. Had she ordered something? Had it arrived faster than expected? She opened the door, and there stood a young woman in a crisp uniform, holding a large box with a bright smile. Hi there. I have a delivery for you from Pilgrim Publishing. Sarah's breath hitched. A delivery? She echoed, puzzled. Her mind raced. Had she actually made a decision to pursue her writing dreams? Had Mark? The woman continued, It says here it's a package for the Clean Dream Project. Is that you? The words hit her like a soft wave, an unexpected push toward the shore of her brewing ambitions. Yes, that's us, she managed to say, feeling a rush of unease mingle with a glimmer of hope. Great. The woman handed over the box. This is a selection of art supplies for kids, along with information on developing stories. There is also a note from Mark. He believes in your project and wanted to support it. Sarah's mind whirled as she took the package. A rush of warmth surrounded her, filling her with a shaky enthusiasm she hadn't felt in days. As she silently took in the enormity of it, a gesture of belief in her and her children, that their dreams mattered. She felt the confidence shift slightly within her. Thank you, she whispered to the delivery woman, whose smile widened. Well, I can't wait to see the finished book. The woman exclaimed before stepping back into the hallway and leaving Sarah standing there, clutching the package to her chest like a life raft. She closed the door slowly, and in the silence that followed, she set the box on the kitchen table. Lucy and Max peeked up, curiosity bubbling in their bright eyes. "What's that, Mom?" Lucy asked, bouncing slightly in her seat as if she could already feel the excitement of the unknown. Sarah took a deep breath, her heart still racing as she knelt beside the table. "It's a surprise for our story," she said, her voice trembling with joy and nerves. "Look what we just got." Max jumped out of his chair, unable to contain himself. "Open it. Open it." As she tore the box open, she found a treasure trove of art supplies, colored pencils, markers, sketch pads, and even a guide filled with tips on storytelling and illustrations. Each item seemed to twinkle with possibility, every color a possibility waiting to be brought to life. "This is amazing," Lucy gasped, her mouth open in awe. "It really is," Sarah echoed, her spirit lifting with each moment. But just then, a thought pierced through her happiness. What if Mark's support came with expectations? Taking a moment to consider, Sarah decided that maybe she could own this moment, the beauty of possibility. As she spread the contents across the table, an electric sense of purpose surged through her. This could be the start of something magical, not just for her children, but for herself as well. They dove into the pens and papers, laughter integrating into the air as they began to scribble ideas down, each line a declaration of hope, each color an affirmation of dreams. "Mom, can the princess in our story have superpowers?" Max asked, eyes shining. "Of course," Sarah replied, her heart soaring, excitement bubbling within her. The ideas flowed, but beneath their carefree creations, another question silently formed in the back of her mind. What did Mark expect in return? And would she be ready for whatever came next? As they sprawled out and began to talk, a new wave of determination washed over Sarah. She understood now that this journey was about embracing uncertainty and taking bold steps forward. Yet as she watched her children, their imaginations soaring, she couldn't help but wonder what this new chapter would truly reveal. But just then, her phone buzzed sharply on the table, pulling her from her thoughts. It was a text from Mark. "Let us meet tomorrow to discuss ideas for the project." Excited to see where it goes. Panic fluttered in her stomach. Tomorrow would come too soon, and with it, the weight of everything churning in the depths of her heart. What would she say then? The next morning arrived with a mismatched playlist of anxiety and excitement swirling in Sarah's stomach. As the early light poured through the kitchen window, she found herself staring at the untouched art supplies, their colors muted in the glow of uncertainty. What if she failed to impress Mark? What if she hadn't grasped his vision? Sarah brewed a steaming cup of coffee, hoping the warmth would envelope her like a comforting hug. As she waited for it to brew, she glanced over at Lucy and Max, now poised at the table, their drawings sprawled across the surface. They were blissfully unaware of the pressures looming over their mother. "Mom, can we add clouds to our story? I want to draw a rainbow," Lucy chirped, enthusiasm lighting her bright eyes. "Of course we can, sweetheart," Sarah replied, forcing a smile as her heart twisted. There was joy in Lucy's voice, a belief so innocent. The last thing she wanted was to dampen that spirit with her worries. As she took a sip of her coffee, the bitterness mingling with sweetness, Sarah's phone buzzed again, shattering the momentary peace. It was another message from Mark. "Looking forward to our meeting. Let us make this project great together." Taking a deep breath, she slid her phone back onto the table. The words felt almost too generous, an invitation dripped in optimism. A warmth spread through her chest. Perhaps this was a chance to not only showcase her children's creativity but also her own. "You can do this," she whispered to herself, trying to quell the nerves. Once breakfast had settled in their bellies, Sarah took the plunge. "Hey, kids. How about we start working on our story outline before I have to go meet Mark?" Max's eyes widened. "You mean the one we are sending to the publishers?" "Yes. We are going to show them just how amazing our story is." They dove in, writing characters and plot twists, laughter punctuating their brainstorming. The catharsis of creativity was infectious. Sarah couldn't help but feel the energy envelop her. An hour later, as she collected their pages, her phone vibrated again. This time it was a reminder for her meeting. The realization hit her, she hadn't just made a promise to Mark, she'd also made a promise to herself. A promise to embrace her dreams, which for too long had been buried beneath layers of self-doubt. Okay, guys. I'll be gone for a little while. But while I'm gone, you're going to make the best drawings ever. She knelt beside them, locking eyes with Lucy. Promise me you'll keep working on our story, no matter what. With enthusiastic nods and we promise, Mom. Echoing around her, Sarah took one last look at their cheerful faces. Driving to the cafe where they agreed to meet, her mind bubbled with a cocktail of ideas and fears. But then she remembered the art supplies that had sparked inspiration in their home. Maybe this meeting wouldn't just be about her. It could mean a new beginning for Lucy and Max too. Arriving at the cafe, the familiar scent of freshly baked pastries greeted her, filling her with warmth. She spotted Mark at a table tucked away in the corner, his expression brightening as he saw her. Hey there, he said, standing up to greet her. Ready to share some ideas? As they settled with their coffees, the conversation flowed, each of them exchanging thoughts and suggestions. Sarah shared her visions, surprising herself with how animated she felt. Mark listened intently, nodding, his eyes sparkling with interest, but soon enough, the conversation turned to expectations, to the potential growth of the project. I really believe in what you have started, Mark said, leaning closer. But I also think we need to think bigger. This could be a huge success. The words hung between them, heavy with possibility. However, they also felt like an anchor, pulling her into deeper waters. As their meeting wrapped up, she couldn't shake off the feeling that Mark's vision might be skewed. Bigger ambitions meant bigger risks and scrutiny. What would happen if she didn't meet his expectations? Would she let her children down? She left the cafe, feeling unsettled, her hopes chasing each other in circles like leaves in the wind. But this time, it wasn't just fear wrapping around her heart, it was also a shiver of determination. As she drove home, she thought about how to balance these new expectations with her own vision and, most importantly, how to keep the spirit of this project vibrant for her children. Once home, a thought jolted her. What if she shared the weight of this expectation with Lucy and Max? Would it strengthen their bond? Before she plunged back into the world of adult fears and responsibilities, she reached for her phone, ready to text Mark. Let's schedule a follow-up. I have some ideas I want to discuss. But just as she was about to hit send, the thought of Mark made her pause. What did she truly want? In that moment of hesitation, inspiration struck. What if I turned our project into a collaborative effort with my kids? The pulse of possibility shimmered at the edge of her consciousness, igniting a spark of clarity within her. Maybe, just maybe, this was the moment she'd been waiting for. Could she transform the story into a shared adventure? Would it lighten the burden of expectation? With these questions swirling in the air, Sarah felt a surge of hope. Tomorrow held a promise of clarity and courage, but then her phone buzzed again, interrupting her thoughts. A new message from Mark. Can you come by my office next week? I want to introduce you to a few people. Her heart raced. What lay ahead could either be a dream come true or a moment of doubt. What would she decide to do? The next day dawned with a brighter sun, cutting through the morning fog. Sarah sat at the kitchen table, surrounded by paints and colored pencils, an uncharacteristic spark now igniting her spirit. The message from Mark wasn't just a request, it was an opportunity she couldn't ignore. Okay, kids, she called to Lucy and Max, who were already perched at the breakfast bar, munching on toast and plotting their next big idea. Today is a special day. We're going to jump into our story together. Max's eyes lit up. Can we make the hero fly? Of course. Sarah replied, feeling the warmth of excitement. Their creative energy surged, weaving an invisible thread of unity. As they crafted their characters, a wise owl, a brave fox, and a rainbow that could speak, Sarah felt her confidence building with every scribble on the page. She wanted them to understand this journey wasn't just about her, it was about them as a family, together pursuing dreams. Mom, I have an idea. Lucy shouted, her curls bouncing as she dove into the details. What if the rainbow gives the animals magical powers? I love that, Luce. Each color could represent a different power. Sarah encouraged, pride swelling in her chest. She couldn't believe how effortlessly they were weaving their imaginations together. They crafted a story filled with laughter, where imagination unleashed its magic in ways they had never considered before. With every bright stroke of the paintbrush, Sarah found it easier to let go of her worries. If this project couldn't be just hers, then it would be even more special as a family effort, but as the clock ticked on, she felt the tug of reality. She had to prepare for her meeting with Mark next week. Her pulse quickened at the thought. How do I present this collaborative creation? She mused to herself, anxiously mixing paint colors while thinking of her presentation. After an afternoon overflowing with imagination, they decided to take a break. Sarah whipped up some snacks, feeling the day's joy still circulating in her veins. The kids devoured the cookies, their laughter ringing in her ears like a sweet melody. "Mom, can we read part of our story tonight?" Lucy asked, her eyes wide with eagerness. "Absolutely. We'll start the next chapter together," Sarah replied, her heart swelling at how eager her kids were to embrace this journey. But as she tucked them into bed that night, Sarah couldn't shake a growing unease. What if Mark didn't like the idea? The pressure to please both him and her children made her stomach churn. Her heart whispered she had to trust her instincts, but uncertainty lingered. Later, alone in the quiet of her house, Sarah sat down with her laptop. The blinking cursor reminded her of the weight of expectations. Still, within her lay a new resolve. She began typing her thoughts, carefully outlining her vision for this project. Her phone buzzed beside her, breaking her concentration. It was another message from Mark. "I can't wait to discuss your ideas. This could be something big." The excitement tinged with anxiety felt like lightning flashing in the distance. She understood the stakes. With every potential success, the fear of failure grew. What if this didn't turn out as planned? Determined not to let fear cloud her judgment, she stared out the window, where the moon glowed softly. It illuminated the path to her future. What if I took my kids along? What if they joined me in this conversation with Mark? She thought excitedly. Imagining the pride on Lucy and Max's faces made her heart race. Could they really be a part of this? But before she could fully flirt with this idea, a weight settled on her chest. What if adding them to the meeting made everything complicated? Would Mark even be open to the concept? With rising determination and dwindling courage, Sarah closed her eyes. The kids believed in magic, in color, in rainbows. Just maybe, if they approached the meeting with their spirit, they could convert Mark's expectations into something even more beautiful than anyone had imagined. At dawn, her dreams would collide with reality. It was now or never. But how would she present this new plan? Filled with hope yet gripped by uncertainty, she put the laptop aside, the questions swirling, and waited for dawn to bathe her in its light. What would tomorrow reveal? Would her vision hold up under scrutiny? As she fell asleep, one thought lingered: she needed something more than courage. She needed a miracle that could transform her venture into something real, a chance to unite her family in ways she never expected. Morning light spilled into the kitchen, creating dappled patterns on the hardwood floor. Sarah blinked against the illumination, her heart pounding with anticipation. She had a plan, or at least an idea of one. Taking her kids along to the meeting with Mark felt both thrilling and terrifying. A deep breath steadied her resolve as she glanced at the box of colorful paint still on the table, remnants of yesterday's creative explosion. "Kids, rise and shine," she called, her voice bright, masking the jitters swirling inside. Lucy and Max shuffled into the kitchen, hair tousled, their faces still drowsy. But as they caught sight of Sarah, their excitement returned like the sunlight cutting through the morning gloom. "Are we still doing our story today?" Max asked, his eyes sparkling with childlike wonder. "Absolutely. But there's something special about today's story time," Sarah said, pouring her heart into her words. "I want both of you to come with me to meet Mark." Lucy's mouth dropped open. "To the big meeting? Really? Really? I think we should show him what we've created together. Will he get to meet the rainbow?" Max chimed in, bouncing on his toes. Sarah laughed, her nerves momentarily forgotten. "Yes. And the wise owl and brave fox too. Breakfast was a whirl of chatter as they discussed how to showcase their vibrant story. Each child threw in ideas, vibrant colors splattered across their imaginations. The scent of pancakes mingled with the aroma of possibility. For Sarah, the act of including her children felt right. It shimmered with the promise of magic. After breakfast, they gathered their supplies: a sketchbook, the colored pencils, and a few paintbrushes. With every item packed, Sarah felt her confidence swell. This wasn't just her project anymore, it was theirs. As they walked to the coffee shop where the meeting was to take place, every step felt like striding into a new world. The neighborhood buzzed with life, each corner filled with the rhythm of people starting their day. Sarah took a deep breath, the air filled with the scent of fresh bread and coffee. "Mom, do you think Mark will like our story?" Lucy asked, her small hand gripping her mother's tightly. "We'll show him how special it is. Remember, it's our adventure together," Sarah replied, smiling down at her daughter. "And I believe in our magic." When they arrived, Sarah's heart raced. The cafe was bustling, and the warmth wrapped around them, yet her palms felt clammy. She briefly caught sight of Mark at a table, a cup of steaming coffee in front of him. Deep breaths, she reminded herself. This was about to get real. "Okay, stay close, and remember to be yourselves," Sarah instructed her children as they approached. Mark looked up, a grin spreading across his face. "Hey, Sarah. And who are these two?" "This is Lucy and Max. They've been working on a project with me." She gestured, presenting them with pride. "Nice to meet you," Mark said, genuine warmth lighting his eyes. Lucy and Max beamed back, and Sarah felt a knot in her stomach begin to loosen. They settled in, and as Sarah started to explain their journey, she could see the flicker of interest in Mark's gaze. After sharing snippets of their story, Mark leaned back, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. "I love this," he said. "You've put so much heart into it." But just as the tension began to dissolve, Mark looked directly at Sarah, a hint of hesitation in his furrowed brow. "What do you envision for the next step?" Sarah felt the weight of the moment settle on her shoulders. How could she articulate the swirling emotions within her? Just then, Lucy tugged at her sleeve, her little voice cutting through the uncertainty. "We want to share the magic, Mr. Mark. The rainbow can help us all." All eyes turned to her, and Mark's smile returned, along with a spark of curiosity. It was simple, yet so profound. Sarah's heart raced. "Yes, the magic. It's about bringing us together and inspiring others." But her voice faltered. What if this doesn't reach the heights we want? That uninvited fear loomed again, but as she looked at her children, their eyes wide with wonder, she grasped onto their infectious enthusiasm. Maybe this idea was bigger than her alone. Mark leaned forward, curiosity etched in his features. "What if we turned this into a community project?" Suddenly, the question hung in the air, heavy with promise. Sarah's heart thumped wildly. What if this was the breakthrough she had been longing for? But could they truly build something together? Would Mark invest in their dream? "Would you do it with us?" Sarah barely whispered, the weight of those words bright with potential. Mark's smile widened. "Absolutely." The room seemed to glow with unspoken possibilities. But then Sarah's mind raced ahead, bullets of doubt firing through. "Okay, we can explore community efforts, but how do we make this happen?" As Mark began outlining ideas, Sarah realized she had just stepped into a world of collaboration she hadn't anticipated. With each word he spoke, excitement mingled with her fears, electrifying the air around them. But amidst the conversation blooming between adults, she noticed Lucy rhythmically tapping her finger on the table, eagerly waiting to offer more ideas. She leaned closer to Lucy and smiled. "Hey, kiddo. What's on your mind?" "I want to tell him about the fox's brave adventure." In that moment, a familiar warmth surged within Sarah. Maybe the journey ahead would be rocky, but their adventure was just beginning. With a blend of hope and trepidation, she nudged Lucy, urging her forward, both anxious and proud. What if this was just the start of something unprecedented? What if their story could unite a community they never dreamed of reaching? It was all right there, waiting as they unleashed their creativity, yet in the back of Sarah's mind, a voice whispered caution. What if they failed? And as she opened her mouth to shed light on her fears, she paused, realizing that everything she ever wanted was right in front of her. Could that daring leap into the unknown lead them all to a truth she hadn't accounted for? Only time would tell. Lucy's enthusiasm bubbled over as she stood up a little straighter, her eyes sparkling with determination. Mr. Mark. The fox. He was scared to go into the forest, but he found his bravery by helping others. Mark leaned in, genuinely intrigued. Wow. That sounds like a great lesson. Tell me more about the fox. As Lucy dove into the story, her little hands animatedly mimicking the fox's cautious steps, Sarah's pulse quickened. The cafe buzzed around them, but in that moment, it felt like they were all the world held. Max joined in, too. And the rainbow showed the fox how much he could shine if he believed. He beamed, proud to share his part in the tale. Sarah watched them speak, their excitement infectious. She couldn't help but feel a warm swell of pride. If Lucy and Max felt this passionate about their story, then maybe it truly could bring people together the way she dreamed. The doubts that wrapped around her like a tight cocoon began to loosen. Inch by inch, Mark leaned back again, taking in the earnest excitement of the children. Sarah, I love everything about this. We could turn it into something beautiful for the community. Imagine inviting local families to contribute their own stories or art. We could host a day where kids share their adventures and creativity. It could even end with a big community showcase. A vision sparked in Sarah's mind, as the room flourished with silence. She could picture it, families gathering, laughter mixing with creativity, all woven together by the magic of shared stories. It filled her with hope. Maybe we could have an art station? Lucy suggested, her voice bright. And everyone can paint their own ideas. Or a storytelling corner. Max added, waving his arms excitedly. We can take turns telling our stories. Sarah felt an overwhelming rush of possibility. This was more than just a project now, it was about creating a space for others to be seen, to share, and to connect. Her heart raced with the notion that they could be the spark that leads to something beautiful. Mark smiled, clearly inspired. Let's get everyone involved. I'll reach out to local businesses for support. The cafe could be our meeting spot, the perfect place for families to gather. But as the visions unfolded, a squeeze of anxiety crept back into Sarah's chest. How would they manage? What if they couldn't pull it all together? Wait, she interrupted, her heart pounding again. But how do we tell everyone? What if no one shows up? Mark looked at her, and there was understanding in his gaze. It's natural to feel scared. Sometimes, all it takes is one person to take the leap like your brave fox. You don't have to have all the answers right now. Just take one step at a time. Sarah nodded, trying to ground herself in those words. The kids were so full of lightness, and Mark's calmness soothed her jittery mind. Maybe they could figure out the details together, step by step. She noticed Lucy's hopeful expression, tiny fingers drumming the table in anticipation. Can we tell people at school? And invite our friends? Yes. That's a perfect start, Mark enthused. The more ideas, the bigger our project will grow. We can begin right where we are. Sarah began to smile, slowly letting hope seep in, and encouragement filled her heart. Everything felt possible when they came together as a family, and the three of them would nurture, build, and frame their ideas into a reality. As they discussed routes to get the project off the ground, laughter and ideas swirled around them. Just grasping the idea that other families might share their own stories filled Sarah with warmth and purpose, but as her heart swayed between newfound excitement and lingering fears, Sarah suddenly asked aloud, what if this becomes huge? How will we keep up? Will it really work? Mark's eyes met hers, firm and confident. We'll do it together. We can handle what comes our way. Feeling lighter, Sarah took a breath, renewed energy invigorating her spirit. Yet the question lingered in her mind: what challenges awaited them on this path? She couldn't shake the feeling that the real adventure was just beginning. As they finished their coffee, laughter mingling with plans for the future, Sarah felt a flicker of possibility ignite deep inside her. Could this project really touch lives and create that much-needed connection amid uncertainty? With eager anticipation, she looked forward to the next steps, both excited and terrified of what surprises awaited them. What if they could change everything? The next morning brought a fresh dawn, and with it, Sarah stirred with a newfound sense of purpose. The kids were already buzzing with energy, their chatter echoing through the small kitchen. As she poured cereal, she couldn't help but smile. This project had somehow ignited a fire in her, a desire to create something special for their community. "Mom, can we practice what we're going to say?" Lucy asked, her eyes bright with excitement. Sarah felt a rush of warmth at her daughter's eagerness. "Absolutely. Let us have a little rehearsal right here," Sarah replied, ruffling Lucy's hair. Max jumped in, grabbing a spoon like a microphone. "I'll go first." His serious expression turned playful as he recited lines about their story. Each word tumbled out with such enthusiasm, it was contagious. They spent the morning practicing their pitches, bouncing ideas off each other, mixing laughter with inspiration. Sarah could see their confidence building, and it ignited her own resolve. Perhaps she was meant to lead them through this journey. After breakfast, they bundled up and made their way to Lucy's school. The cold air snapped at their cheeks, but warmth filled Sarah's heart. The familiar sight of the school brought back fond memories. As they approached the front steps, a wave of anxiety washed over her once more. What if the kids' friends rejected their ideas? "Mom, are you ready?" Lucy's voice broke through her spiraling thoughts. "I'm ready," Sarah replied, straightening her shoulders. "Let us do this." Inside, the school was a hive of activity. Children filled the hallways, laughter ringing out like music. They approached Lucy's classroom, where her friends gathered, eagerly chatting. Once they were settled, Sarah began sharing their project idea, letting Lucy and Max take turns explaining their roles. As she spoke, she watched the eyes of the children light up. A few smiled while others listened intently, nodding along. It felt amazing to see them grasp their vision, and the air buzzed with excitement. Each child whispered to one another, and Sarah felt her heart lift. But then a voice piped up from the back, filled with doubt. "What if it's boring?" A lanky boy sneered, folding his arms defiantly. Max's face fell, uncertainty creeping in. Lucy looked at Sarah, her expression pleading. "Hey," Sarah said, her tone firm but gentle. "It's not just a story. It's about sharing who we are, what we believe in, and how we can all support each other. Just because it's different doesn't mean it's boring. It can be exciting if we all pitch in." The attention shifted, and the boy's smirk softened, replaced by genuine curiosity. "What if we make it a contest?" he suggested, his tone lifting. "Best story wins." Excitement rippled through the group, and a chorus of ideas erupted. It was no longer just Sarah's vision. They were all shaping it, weaving their thoughts together into something magical. This was what they needed, an opportunity for everyone to contribute. As they left the classroom, Sarah felt lighter. The fear that had clutched at her heart began to dissipate. They had taken their first steps, and now, the project was beginning to grow roots. Later, as they returned home, Lucy asked, "Can we make flyers to tell everyone? I want everyone to join." She bounced on her feet, all enthusiasm. "Definitely." Sarah agreed, feeling a surge of hope. Each moment spent watching them open up made the effort worth it. Days turned into weeks, and plans began to solidify. They designed flyers, arranged meetings with local businesses, and even organized an open day at the cafe to bring the community together. However, amidst the excitement, doubt began to creep in again as the attention approached its climax. What if no one came? What if everything fell flat? As these thoughts flitted through her mind, Sarah recalled Mark's words about taking things step by step, encouraging her to trust in their collective strength. The night before the big day, Sarah stood in her kitchen, surrounded by the colorful flyers and art supplies. The kitchen was quiet, but she felt a storm of feelings swirling inside her. As her heart raced with anticipation, she glanced at the calendar, its big red circle marking tomorrow's date. Will it really work? She whispered to herself, the question hanging heavy in the air. What came next could change everything. Would their dream become a reality, or would it fizzle out like a forgotten spark? The morning dawned bright and clear, a perfect stage for the big day. Sarah's heart raced as she shuffled around the kitchen, her hands working methodically. Lucy and Max danced around her, their excitement palpable. Today was not just about a story anymore, it was about community, connection, and overcoming fear. Let us go, kids. Time to bring our magic to life. She called, her voice a mix of nerves and determination. They gathered their supplies, stepping out into the lightly frosted morning air, the excitement buzzing between them like static. As they walked to the cafe, Lucy and Max chattered about their plans. It felt like they were heading into a wondrous adventure. Upon arriving, the cafe was already buzzing with life. Tables were set up, bright banners hung overhead, and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the sweet scent of pastries. The stage was set, but Sarah felt her stomach tighten with apprehension. "Mom, look!" Lucy pointed. A group of children had gathered, flipping through the flyers, their eyes sparkling with curiosity. The moments felt like a whirlwind as more families began to trickle in. The space soon filled with laughter, chatter, and the excitement of shared possibilities, dissolving Sarah's anxious thoughts. She watched as Lucy and Max welcomed their friends, explaining the project with contagious enthusiasm. The children leaned in, eyes wide with interest. As the festivities began, Sarah stepped to the front of the cafe, her heart pounding. Mark stood beside her, his encouraging smile reminding her of how far they had come. "All right, everyone. Thank you for being here today. This is about sharing your voices, your creativity, and your dreams. Let us create something magical together." Mark added, sparking cheers among the children. With each moment, Sarah felt the weight of her earlier doubts begin to lift. Children splashed colors on canvases, crafting stories of accents from their thoughts, while parents mingled, pouring out ideas and laughter. As the hours rolled on, Sarah found herself weaving through the crowd, taking in every smile and giggle. Kids shared their adventures through art, laughter filling the air like balloons floating free. She felt a warmth wrap around her heart as she noticed families interacting, each moment morphing into connection, a mosaic of joy. Then came the moment when Lucy stood up on the small stage, clutching her drawing of the brave fox. "I want to tell you all about my idea. The fox found courage to help others, and together, we can create a brave adventure too." The room erupted with applause, the energy crackling like fireworks. Sarah's heart swelled with pride. This was not just a moment for her, it was theirs as a family, theirs as a community. The promise of magic felt alive, rippling outward. When it came time for Sarah to present her vision, she felt the presence of every single person in the room. Scanning their faces, she found bravery in her voice. "This isn't just about one story, it's about our journey together. Imagine a place where kids from every corner share their adventures, a canvas painted with our dreams. This is just the beginning." The room fell silent, anticipation hanging in the air. Then the room erupted with cheers, each cheer somehow unraveling another layer of doubt within her. The joy that enveloped them became a bond stronger than she had ever imagined. As the event came to a close, Mark approached, his eyes filled with admiration. "You should be proud. You've created something beautiful here." Sarah felt tears of gratitude brim her eyes as she glanced at Lucy and Max. They giggled, excitedly sharing their new friends' stories while drawing images of their collaborative adventures. Her heart surged with love and realization. This wasn't just about overcoming the struggles of life, it was building something meaningful, a collective strength that would last. As they headed home, the sparkle in her children's eyes reflected the colors they had painted on the canvas of their hopes. Sarah thought about the leap they had taken from uncertainty to possibility, how every fear had transformed into something beautiful. "Mom," Lucy said, grabbing her hand, "can we do it again? It was the best day ever." Sarah laughed, her heart fuller than it had ever been. "Absolutely. We'll keep sharing our magic." The path ahead was still uncertain, but with each step, they would face it together, hand in hand, brave like the fox, colorful like the rainbow. This was just the beginning of their adventure. Now, more than ever, Sarah understood the spirit of family and community, along with the courage to embrace the unknown, and this was the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it really makes a difference. Comment below how you felt about this incredible ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. True fans understand the importance of supporting our journey.